On today's episode of Project Pundits Unplugged.
Like, you did not play Pokemon Go when it came out?
I didn't have kids that age. Well, or who were into it at least.
It's not a kid thing.
Jim dreams of being a Pokemon master.
Oh, no. I meant, yeah, I know it's an adult thing. Absolutely.
New mascot ideas.
This could be our mascot.
Dumpster fire. I love the smiley face. The smiley face on the dumpster is like the best part of it.
I want to find some sort of figure that's represents a polished turd. Like, you know, that'd be a good one to give.
Story time for the stubborn.
The book is called "If You're Riding a Horse and It Dies, Get Off."
That's the name of the book? That horse isn't looking too good. Do you think a bigger whip will help? Maybe a different rider could get the horse going. The horse needs more. The clown. Oh my gosh. That was seriously good.
Welcome everybody to episode 5 of the Project Pundits Unplugged podcast. At this point, we hope all these episodes are out. We've spent a lot of time getting them to be of a decent length so that we don't lose large swaths of watchers. So,
because I am so
chatty.
Pontificating. That's all I do is just theorize and pontificate, and you just have to cut hours of me. So I apologize, Jim. I'm really sorry.
And Braden even found a good clip in one of our last episodes about pontificate, which I found very humorous.
Did you like that?
Yeah, I like that one.
The pontificate was pretty good. We'll have to re-include it here.
That's
probably.
right. I'll have to put it in again for those who didn't go through and listen to the other 4.
To express one's opinions in a way considered annoyingly pompous or dogmatic. Yep.
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yep.
Oh, you got to fool around a little bit at the beginning.
That's how all good things begin, fooling around a little bit at the start.
Gonna stay away from that one. Keep going.
So we chatted a bit about how much more of, call it your baseline content we wanted to share before kind of going off into very topical things. And I think we have a couple more things we wanted to chat about. This one
topical, controversial, potentially.
Maybe well, it will be when we talk about it. You may think certain things are not controversial. We will make them controversial.
We can make anything controversial. Yep. We're really good at it.
Yep. How to set yourself apart professionally. We talked about project manager as a career path, the last one. We think this is a good one, again, for folks who are considering this career or those who are looking to excel in a project management career. We want to talk about some of the things that were really, really impactful to us progressing through our career, things we've noticed, and things you can work on and focus to really build your own brand in this space. So we're going to go over.
And I would say a lot of this, all of this actually applies to anyone in, I would say, the professional world. This is not exclusive. I don't think any of these are exclusive to project managers. So maybe a unique episode in that I think it's broadly applicable to just about anyone in the professional world, not just limited to the project management space.
Yep. And I will say that I've not followed a number of these, and through dumb luck, I've gotten to where I am. So, but I will tell you, the path is a lot easier if you do follow a lot of these lessons. So why don't we get into it? I think the first section, we're going to talk which one of the most important things is around communication, specifically starting with written communications and how important that is. So, Braden, you want to take us through that?
Let me jump in, and I'll say I've actually, as Jim was saying, he hasn't always followed. I went through just now to say, okay, based on my interactions with Jim, has he violated, any of these frequently? And he's not being honest there. I think the majority, I'm trying to see if any of these he doesn't follow, and I don't think so, pretty consistently. As we always say, it's principles versus procedures, right? So this isn't a list of follow these 5 steps and it will exactly make a perfect, you. No, but I think if you follow the principles involved, it's going to help set you apart as someone who is organized, who comes across clearly in what you're trying to say and share, and comes across as a professional that someone wants on their team. And that's ultimately, I think, what we're trying to, this isn't necessarily, if all of this is here, it can, this sounds terrible, but I think it can hide a lot of inadequacies. So True. If you're actually really bad at organizing and planning, but you do some of these really well, you can probably fake your way through quite a bit, being able to do some of these things. So let's start with written communications.
Fake it till you make
it. And we chose to start, one of the first things that I want to share about is presentations. Now, when I shared my first presentation that I did, one of the first presentations that I did in a large corporate setting, the content of that presentation was extraordinary. The content, the message that I was sharing was on point. It was carefully thought out. The message was great because we were on track, et cetera, et cetera. The presentation, the format of it was awful. It was just like blocks of texts that were not well organized, not well presented. It looked terrible. But me, being the very logical and I'll say very right-brained person that I was, said, who cares about any of that stuff? No one's going to pay attention to what it looks like. They're going to care about the content of it. And boy, was I wrong. And the rest of my career has shown me this too, in that the way that you present the material that you present matters almost as much, if not, and this sounds terrible, more than the actual content that's in that deck. I have had experiences where I have had people make presentations that were beautiful. They were carefully organized on the page. They had great graphics. The fonts and everything in the presentation was consistent. They looked glossy, and the message was awful. And they were lauded as having, some of the best presentation, the best material, simply because of the presentation. What I've learned, and the reason that we're spending time on this, is that when people see how you present a presentation, not just the content, but the way that it's formatted, it reflects on the amount of attention that you give to detail. It reflects on the care that you put, the amount of professionalism that you're putting into something. And ultimately, you have to put equal thought into both the format of something as well as the content. When we say format, we're talking about things that you might say sound stupid, but things like fonts, being consistent in your use of fonts, using the same size of fonts, using the same color, using a color palette that is not off the wall, right? You're not having greens and purples and reds and it's inconsistent throughout the presentation. Picking a color palette at the beginning of the presentation, using that color palette consistently throughout the presentation. Making sure that when you have an index at the beginning, some sort of a contents or a guide for what's in your presentation, that the titles on each of the slides are consistent with that index. And then on each slide, using organizers so that when someone is glancing at that slide, those organizers, when I say organizers, I mean generally something like subheadings or subtitles. I should be able to look at a slide and within about 5 seconds, know what that slide has, right? So if it's a summary of what's going to happen in the project, you should basically have 3 headings that let people quickly see what's on the slide and be able to go to where they're most interested, or even to skip it and say, yeah, I don't really care about that. If I'm an executive, I don't have time to do it. Another important part of presentations is making sure before you start a presentation, you think about what are the goals that you have for the presentation? What do you want the result to be as you finish the presentation? And what's the message that you want to share? And then you outline that story by essentially saying, okay, slide 1 is going to be me putting the background. Slide 2 is going to be me telling this story. You tell the story with those slides, and at the end, you say, here's the result that we're asking for, whether it's action from the participants, help, whatever it is. Make sure that when you're creating presentations, you go through that initial organization before you start. The same would be the case just as we outline this for presentations.
Before you pivot to emails, I wanna acknowledge. I know PowerPoints and presentations have literally gotten trashed, and I think that's because a lot of people use them as a crutch, and they don't say anything. It just, with any of the communications, you have to be purposeful. So I will tell you that I know you'll might get some comments that like, oh, Jeff Bezos banned using PowerPoint or Elon Musk. And what it is their issue with it was people would come into a meeting to present an idea, and they would use PowerPoint as a crutch, and they didn't really fully flesh out or think through their idea. So they forced them to essentially write a narrative and put it in like an essay format so that could be pre-read and then debated in a meeting, so the meetings were useful. I'm all for making meetings useful. I'm a big fan of PowerPoint, and people's attention spans are short, so you've got to get your message across. And it really is
Jim
something.
Speaks from personal experience.
Mike, totally. But don't throw out the tool is what the point is. And I think Braden he's going to get into emails. I think the concepts are like, just be thoughtful with your communications. What do you want to accomplish? Know your audience, right? So different audience levels and whatnot. And Braden's going to get into that. But anyways, I just want to throw that out and acknowledge that I know there's some backlash against presentations, but.
And you're right. The point of it is storyboard. And that's probably the best term for it is storyboard before you start writing slides.
Yeah.
So first talk about what the whole thing is going to be about, then go in there and say, okay, now I'm going to write this slide with that purpose in mind, etc. Believe it or not, the guidance for email communication is not all that different. You need organizers. So having subtitles, whenever I see an email that's a block of text that just goes on and on, more often than not, I might skip it. Or I might try to scan it really quick, but if it takes me too long to scan it, odds are I'm not going to give it great attention. When you're sending an email, one of my favorite techniques is to do bottom line up front. So what I'll do is I'll send my email might really consist of primarily it's 1 or 2 sentences. And the 1 or 2 sentences might be, hey, I need action from a number of my PMs to help me with this exercise. The information that I'm looking for is by such and such a time. Appreciate your help. Details are below, right? So up front, I can see someone needs action from me. It's for this group, and here's why. And great, now I have the context. Now I go down to the details, and the details I organize again. If you're writing more than 5 or 6 sentences, break it apart and put a subtitle on it so that people say, what is this block of text about? So I can scan really quickly and understand where I'm going to, what the important part is. Aside from that organization and bottom line up front with emails, there's small things. Number 1, always double check your distributions. There's pranks out there like, did you mean to reply all on that one? I think we've all either been the victim of that or played it on someone, but check your distribution list so that you're comfortable in knowing, hey, did I leave someone off? Hey, should I leave someone off? And then also it sounds silly, but again, some of these details, think about the order of the distribution list. Oftentimes people have certain opinions about where they fall in the pecking order of the messages that you're sending. Who are you sending in the to line? Who are you sending in the copy line? What's the order that you're sending the recipients in the to and the copy? It sounds silly, I recognize, but if you're looking for small things that show attention to detail, those sorts of things can matter to people. And thinking about it and taking just a little bit of time to organize things in that way can go a long way in setting yourself apart from other people in your team, in the organization, et cetera. Jim, anything else that I missed there?
Yeah, just a couple of things that over time I've found to be effective. So people get a lot of emails. So a lot of times now I'll actually put in a subject line, if I want some action to happen, I'll put please read : or instead of just making it a high priority email, I'll put like need feedback : just what the action is, so people can right away get an idea of
because some
purpose.
emails are information only, some
Yep.
some are I need you to do something for me, so action required or something like that.
And I do, and this gets nitpicky, but I'll put like, so if there's a meeting and there needs to be meeting minutes or an agenda, I'll put agenda : meeting name, or meeting minutes : it's just a nice tidy way. And if you're consistent with it, again, it's going back to Braden's point, it reflects well on you that you've thought out your communications and all of that. This is more of a communications thing. You learn over time. I've always asked for people to do something. Don't tell them, so as much as you can, would you mind, checking this, even though, it may be their job and it's not enough to just use, please just think about how you phrase your sentence. Like, hey, I know you're busy, but if you can have that to me by Friday at 4, it would be really helpful, versus like, please have me this material by 4:00 on Friday. And those little things go a long way, I think.
Depending on the relationship, I might even throw a drop of humor in there too.
Oh, yeah.
If you could have it by Friday, that would be great. And I might even include like a little, icon from Office Space or something like that. Something just so that people understand, hey, I'm not trying to be a punk about this. I'm trying to make it light.
Go ahead and make sure you do that from now on. That would be great.
But so that's the written communication piece of things. Maybe talk to us a little bit about verbal.
Yeah, so I think, as you could probably see, Braden and I still have some work to do in this area, given the podcast. I think in Braden, again, I'll put it out there that generally I'm an introverted person. Putting a podcast out kind of goes against the fact that I'm introverted, but in general settings, I'm not super comfortable just going up to people, and I'm not a confrontational person. It's a necessary part of your job, knowing that you're going to get into a conversation, there's going to be some level of discomfort and whatnot. You got to get used to it because it's a part of the job. But I think, just general, it's a little bit harder now that a lot of work is remote, but if you have the ability to try to have a conversation casually with someone, Braden calls it the walk up, right?
Can I just jump in on it,
Please
Jim?
do it,
Because there's one. The walk up is an art form. If you want to see it in action, right? Go to any of the execs sitting along a wall somewhere in offices, and you'll notice they're rarely in their office because they're usually talking to people face to face. And the walk up, as I call it, it usually happens in the context of an email chain that's going on too long. So you'll see, I can't tell you the number of people who come up to me and say, why won't this guy, do what I'm asking? I say, well, yeah, show me what's going on. And they'll show me an email chain of 300 emails going back and forth. And I say, okay, at what point should we have stopped the flame war with the emails and just stood up? And more often than not, the guy sits 5 cubes down in the office or something, right? It happens all the time. Stand up, get over and talk to the guy. And there's lots of ways of doing it, right? But the primary purpose of a walk-up, there's 2, right? One is you establish rapport with someone, so the next time that you've got an issue, it doesn't take 300 emails. It says, that's Jim. I know Jim. He walked into my office. He gave me his candy jar. Like, we're friends, Jim and I. Now, okay, maybe, he didn't give me his candy jar, but whatever it is. But finding ways, and so when you go into the person's, desk, cube, office, whatever it is, your goal is to establish rapport with the person, get to know them a little bit. Don't just jump in and say, hey, why aren't you responding to my email? Walk in and say, Jim, I thought you sat over here. You're like, I'm only like 5 cubes down. That's hilarious. And oh my gosh, you're a Packers fan. Tell me about the Packers. But the point is, you're trying to get to know the person a little bit, establish some rapport. And yes, you'll get the second purpose, and it's much more a secondary purpose than a primary purpose is. You're going to resolve the problem, right? You'll sit down and face to face, you're going to solve much faster than you can the stupid back and forth with the emails. But the point is, the next time it happens through the walk-up, you have now gone to the top of this guy's queue in terms of handling problems, because the next email that you send to this person, they're going to say, I know Jim. I'm happy to solve the problem with Jim because he came into my, cube and spent some time with me. Jim, if you're not comfortable with that, what are some alternatives maybe? Yeah.
No. So, I mean, I hit it head on. So my techniques for ice breaking are not what most people are, but I mean, it's, I will go up and be like feign real anger. And I'll be like, what is your problem, man? Why can you not just do what I tell you to do? And look at their face and be like, dude, I'm just kidding. Or whatever the icebreaker technique is with that. If there's a lot of tension, I'll just do something stupid. But yeah, no, there's a lot to be said with that. Virtual is hard. So I'll cover virtual.
If you're not a humorist, by the way, I'm dead serious when I say bring a candy jar. No one says no when someone has food in hand and comes in and sets it down and just starts talking.
Unless you're in a white van or something, but
well, even then, I mean, if it's sugar cubes, but I'm just saying, find some way, whatever works for you. If it's food, if it's humor, whatever it is, but find some way of establishing rapport.
Or get them to come to you too. So that was the thing. To Braden's point, my cubes or offices, I always had enticements in there. Candy. Did your office look like a white van, Jim? Is that did you play ice cream truck music in front of your? Okay, awesome. No, we have just, I'm thinking of some funny office stories. It's a little tougher when you're in a remote work environment, but same principles apply. Have a video call, turn your video camera on, and the other person's going to feel obliged to turn theirs on. They won't always. This is not rocket science, and you could pick up 1,000 books on this, on human communication, picking up verbal cues, seeing a person and establishing that, connector. A big part of why Braden and I decided to do a video-based podcast. I think it's more effective in many ways. I certainly was not comfortable physically doing it. I'll tell you that. But I think it can be more engaging. I think on that
Jim, just turning your video on will set you apart. Literally, if all you do is you're the one person who has your video on more consistently, you're already in a largely remote environment. You're going to already find yourself being set apart because you're like, hey, I'm listening and I'm showing that I'm listening.
Yeah, and I think just basic stuff. I mean, and again, I think this should be common sense, but have a clean, make sure your environment is clean, that you're dressed appropriately, that you don't have your animals jumping. Now, if you have an established relationship with somebody and your cat jumps in your lap or something, that's a little bit different. But generally, when you're, just hold yourself up to as high a professional level as you can with that. It makes a difference. In meetings, this is a big thing for project managers. You need to get good at a lot of things, and you're going to learn the hard way. And hopefully people will give you feedback and not just cut you out or just ignore you, right? One of the most important things that I see so many PMs not doing, and it's mainly because they're so focused on saying the right things and getting their message across that they're not looking at the audience. Look at your audience, read the room. You'll learn a lot. Keep people engaged. So if you find that you're talking about something and people are suddenly checking their phone more often or down or talking to each other, change, pivot, be like, I think you guys got the gist of this, move on and whatnot. But you have to make your content engaged. Braden's obviously got some, he's thinking either of memories or stories.
The number of times, Jim, the number of times where, and I'm sure you've been in them too, we've probably been in the same meeting where we're at it's not even a big group. It's maybe like 10 or 12 people. There's a few execs that you're trying to present to, and the execs are very subtly, sometimes less subtly, looking at their laptop, right? And it's not, you haven't shared the presentation. The presentation's up on the screen, and they're checked out. So whatever it is that you're doing, and that's the point where you probably say, hey, let me give you my last slide, right? Let me give you the bottom line, and we'll let you move on. It looks like you guys have other stuff that's going.
Yeah, no, I mean, maybe not that blunt up front. I mean, you get to a point where you could be like that, but the bottom line is, right, get to the key things that you need out of that meeting. So again, going back to the presentation, make sure before you go into a presentation, you know what you want to get out of that presentation. So if you need someone to accept a risk or accept a solution for a problem because it's blocking something, make sure that's highlighted. And, I mean, you don't spend 20 minutes highlighting your accomplishments about how you implement no one cares. I mean, honestly, it's nice from a team perspective to show what your team accomplished, but bottom line is the executives in those meetings, especially like steering committee meetings, are there to help you unblock and help you move through those and, not burn their time. They'll appreciate if you give them back, if it's an hour meeting, you give them back 30 minutes, they'll love it. So it looks like you had something else there.
No, well, I mean, you're jumping into the next one. So the next topic I know that we wanted to cover was
it's a good pivot. Yeah.
Communicating at different levels. And so one of the first things that I'll say is, and so let's start by communicating up, and especially to executives. When you're communicating to executives, Jim just hit on probably one of the most important things that I've seen more commonly than anything else in my career, and that is great PMs that are doing great work that want to essentially get credit, or even let's say that they're being less selfish and they're saying, I want to give credit to my team. As Jim said, it's not that the executives don't care. They care. They're glad that all of that good work's doing. They just don't have time to listen to you tell about all these great accomplishments. They don't. And oftentimes PMs are just spending 3/4, if I've got a 5-minute window to give an update to an exec among other PMs, I'm not going to spend it telling them about the great accomplishments. What I might say is I might summarize all of those great accomplishments and saying, we are on track, or there's been a lot of great work that's happened, and 90% of it is doing fantastic. Let me focus our time on the 10% that we're having a challenge with so that I can, make sure you guys know what we're doing about it. That's always what you want to start, is don't bring a problem that you haven't already tried to solve yourself. And then B, say, here's how we're looking for your help, right? So don't spend time telling executives all the great work that you've done as much as you want to. There are times for that. There are celebration or other things where you can say, hey, we're in production, or hey, we're this. But for the most part, you want to see, here's how we can enlist your help. When you're talking to executives, it's always got to be bottom line up front. So even before you start in any of it, the first thing that you probably want to say up front is you're going to say, the project is yellow status because of 2 issues. We have line of sight to solving both of those issues, and we're anticipating getting back on schedule within the next 2 weeks. Do you want me to tell you the details of that? So that in the exec's head, they say, okay, yes, I want to hear about the issues and I want to hear how you're solving them or how you need our help. So bottom line up front, then talk about the details behind that. Versus if you're talking to technical teams, right? So now let's talk about talking down or laterally, right? If I'm talking to technical teams, I can change the approach that I'm taking. As I'm talking to technical teams, I'm probably actually going to flesh out solutions and say, guys, let's spend some time in the details of the approach that we're taking, the expectations around timing, if we want to set up some breakout sessions to dive into the details of what the solution looks like, etc. That's great. Let the working teams spend time in the solution. You don't need to abstract that. In fact, you probably sometimes have to spend more time than you would prefer in those details. So being aware of your audience, what level they are and what they need, versus saying, here's what I want to share with people, is probably the one thing that will set you apart. If you go into those executive meetings with the bottom line up front, details behind, you are going to quickly set yourself as someone who they like communicating with, and give yourself opportunities. Jim, anything else?
Just two things. So, I think, we talk about this, but, again, it'll change how you present if you put people on a pedestal. Respect people's time, respect their position, respect all of that. But again, the more you put people on a pedestal, the more trouble you're going to have just having a good communication with them. So, this is a lesson learned. I mean, when I was young in my career, you get in a room with a CEO and you're like, oh my, you're so nervous. But again, just realize they have a job to do too. It's just a different job with more responsibilities, and their time is valuable. So, all those things Braden said. And then here's one other thing that is really critical. Don't make don't, like, if you do not have an answer for something, do not make something up. Be confident in what you know, be even more confident in what you don't know, right? And it's okay, because you're not going to know everything. I've been doing this 25 years and in a certain industry, and yeah, maybe I know 90% of some topic, but inevitably there's going to be something I do not know. You're like, that's a great question. Let me get back to you. There's lots of techniques on how to do that, but just, be confident what you don't know. It's just as important in building the people's trust and confidence in you and your ability to do the job. So aside from, again, communications and how you communicate, again, another way of kind of the silent communication is your physical presentation. I mean, the thing I was told right when I started my career is dress to match the level you want to be at. A lot of that's changed. I used to have to wear a tie when I first went into the office. I think when I started at Cigna, I actually wore a tie for a stretch. But take care of your physical appearance, stay groomed and take showers. I mean, so don't wear obnoxious colognes or perfumes, things like that. Dress appropriately, whatever that means. I mean,
even more appropriately, you don't have to, again, if you set yourself apart, you can go one step above.
Yeah.
Without going crazy, you don't want to wear a tux and a tie or whatever else.
No, I mean, I chose, when I found there was a version of Spanx for men where, compression undershirts, that's an option, much easier than dieting and losing weight. Again, first impressions make a difference. I am overweight now, and Braden will argue with me on this, but I'll straight up, I get around it with my experience and my extreme wit and charm and everything else. But I mean, just, it does make a difference. I mean, my goodness, we've worked with people who actually didn't shower, and we've had to talk to them that you have to shower. I mean, these are all things that build good relationships and build your brand. And then, there's a lot to get into here. It's probably worthy of its own episode, but external branding. So anything you post on social media, unless you're very thoughtful about locking it down, it's inevitably going to be out there. You have dedicated professional social media networks like LinkedIn. Be very thoughtful about your LinkedIn. Again, it's the same concept of what you talked about in emails and in presentations. What is it that you want to communicate, and does your message communicate that?
It's not just LinkedIn. I mean, all of your social media is going to be found, by various of your colleagues.
Yeah.
And regardless of how careful you are of locking it down, it will get out there, and so you've got to be mindful of it.
And own it. And look, and I'm not saying don't censor yourself per se. Like, be a person. Being an individual who's different is hugely important. Just don't be an idiot.
It doesn't mean don't have fun. Don't post those crazy, silly pictures.
No, I will give you another one. Leave religion and politics out of as much as you can out of your public profiles. And everybody has an opinion and whatnot. People will not interview you if they see that your political views aren't aligned with theirs. Sometimes. Yeah. I've seen it straight up. It can happen. So Not saying don't have those views. I'll state it as realize that anything you post will have potentially a consequence. And if you're okay with accepting that, that's fine. But just be aware of that. Consciously network. That's all I'll say on that. Go have lunch with people. It's hard if you're busy, especially if you have families. You don't have a lot of time. Make time, even if it's once a quarter, every 6 months. Have lunch. Find a mentor if you can, right? That networking is how you want to find your professional development opportunities. You don't want to have to go to job boards. You don't want to have to submit resumes. Those references will help you land opportunities and things like that. Any other parting thoughts, Braden?
No, I think even if you're able to do some of these, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we gave a whole bunch, but you'd be surprised at how simple it is to set yourself apart by doing simple things consistently. The only other one that I just thought of, and again, it's a simple one, but being on time.
Oh, sure.
You want to set yourself apart. Be consistently on time to a meeting.
Early.
Be the first one there.
Yeah, be the first
dialed
one there.
Be dialed in a couple of minutes early. You set yourself apart. They sound so simple, but if you're consistent with them, you really can, and it gives you opportunities that you might otherwise not have.
Yep.
Other than that, Jim, sure. I think that wraps this one up.
All right. Well, thank you everybody for joining this latest or watching this latest episode, and please give us a follow if you like the content. Interact, leave comments. We're working really hard to get this distributed widely. Share with your friends and family if you think they would find this useful. I think our episodes do kind of hit different audiences, each of them. We hope at least some of these hit a sweet spot for what you're looking for. So as always, any feedback is appreciated, and we'll see you next time.
See you guys.
See you.